If you're like me, you probably have a lot of things that you want to create for yourself and in your life, but you just don't like to wait. In this video, I'm going to be talking about the most important part of creating the reality that you want, and I'm going to be giving you some really important tips on how to align with this and embody it. My name is Adam. Welcome back to my YouTube channel. Before we get started, I just want to let you know I'm doing just a couple more free breakthrough calls, and then I'm going to stop doing those. There's a link pinned in the comment section below. A breakthrough call is a 30-minute call where we get on Zoom, and I just help you go through some of the pieces of your life that aren't aligning, so we can look at the blocks, the traumas, what you need to release so that you can align with your highest timeline. I have always been a very future-driven person. I have always had enormous visions. I've seen very far down the timeline, and I've had big ideas about what I want to create for myself and for the world. Can you relate to this? I was never happy. I've always been off in some world waiting for things to come. I've always had the ability to feel as if they're already here, but I would feel them so much that I wouldn't really even be present to what was going on around me. And so I sort of became dissociated from my body and wasn't allowing what I wanted to manifest to come into the human form. Sometimes we don't manifest because our body isn't ready for it. Our body doesn't have the vitality, the strength, the knowing, the skill set to manifest what we can feel in our imagination. And that's one of the biggest issues in manifestation, is not understanding that you have to align the human with what you're trying to call in. One of the struggles with being sort of like a future seer is the waiting part. Which is what I'm talking about in this video. The divine timing piece. It's great to have passion. It's great to have inspiration. It's great to see things. But it's really important to be in sync, to mention a boy band name, with where you are. Because if you're not, you can end up just sort of struggling, yearning, banging your head into brick walls, creating vision boards, casting spells, and essentially getting nowhere and hating everything because you're never there. Okay, so I'm going to talk about divine timing a bit, and then I'm going to be giving you some tips on how to align with it so your life can take the shape that you want it to take. So what is divine timing? Divine timing essentially is synchronization with you and the universe. It's pretty much all it is. It's being in the present moment, in acceptance, in harmonization with the rhythms of the earth, the rhythms of the universe, and allowing your own rhythms to match, internal and external. Because when you're in that synchronization, there's no wanting, there's no deep yearning. There might be desires, but there's not this emptiness of like, I have to have this and I have to create it or I'm miserable. Okay? Divine timing is the allowance of everything. It's the understanding that things come at the right time, at the right place. You're a creator of your life, but you're not creating your life by yourself. There are other forces at work that you're working with. So it's an alignment of all these different pieces. Now, where a lot of people get hung up is they don't fully understand that when we manifest with basically like 5 to 10% of our awareness. There is 90 to 95% of the rest of us that have different ideas or are in different places than where we think we are. So we often are like, I'm ready for this, but we're not. We just think we are, okay? So how do we begin to synchronize with divine timing? How do we begin to embody divine timing? I'm going to be giving you some tips. One, a deep knowing and trusting that things really do come when they're ready to come, when it's time for us to receive them. Now, there can be many reasons why they're not coming, and it's good to look at those reasons. Like, you may not believe you're worthy of something. And so even though you've called it in, it's not coming in because there's a wound around self-love that's basically stating, I'm not ready for this. But there's a lot of other reasons as well that we're not ready. Sometimes it's not even us. Sometimes if we're trying to create something that involves other people or the collective, trust me, I know all about that one, and the collective or the other person isn't ready, even if you're ready, it's not going to happen because, again, we live in a co-creative reality. And when this is the situation, it helps to just kind of sit back and let go and look at what it is that you can work on within yourself. But the majority of the time, things don't come because some part of us isn't ready. A thing to understand here too is the more that you rush, the longer the things will take and the more miserable you will be in the process. So if you find yourself rushing and pushing to get to a future that's never going to come because the future is in the moment, ask yourself what it is that you want to feel from that future. And ask yourself how you can feel it now. Why can't you feel that now? Generally, it's just a feeling. You know, a lot of people are wanting to create a community, a form of connection with other people. So they're looking for their tribe, their partners, their people, and they're kind of pushing into that future. Now, this is tricky because on some level, it does help to have other people to create the feeling of connection. But what you can do in these moments is really get down to the nitty-gritty of why you don't feel connection now. There's always something you can connect to, even if it's just in your imagination. You can connect to a tree, you can connect to an animal in the park. You can practice this on your own time. I mean, I have had to call in other dimensional sort of partner energies to feel a romantic connection on that level, because on some level I haven't been ready, and on another level, you know, so many people are in so much trauma that it's difficult for us to call in the right matches because there's only so much available. What can you connect to right now? Because every step that you take to create connection in this moment is calling that future that exists in this moment into this moment. You're starting to synchronize with that future. Another tip is be patient. I've been told this so many times, and I can't stand it when people tell me to be patient. And I'm like, yes, but it's taken 20 years of working on the same thing over and over and over and over again, and it's not happening. Well, patience, it's helpful to think of patience again in terms of, not in terms of time, but in terms of presence. Patience doesn't really have anything to do with waiting for the time, 6 days from now at 3:27. It has to do with being present to what's going on around you. We all live in our neocortexes. We all live in our heads, and we think and we think and we think, and we dissociate from our bodies and from the moment every single time that we think, every single time that we speak. This is the great curse of humanity, and it's not the mind, but it's the fact that we dissociate every second. That's why we're all miserable. When we're actually truly in the present moment, we're content. So think about any time when you were just there. You could be just spending time with a tree in nature. It can be observing animals. If you're good at meditating, it can be meditating. It can be anything where you start to feel your body and feel present. And that's actually patience. Being in your body is patience. Being in the moment is patience. Forget the idea of time. Be in the moment of allowing. Another tip to know with divine timing is that you are ready for what you're experiencing. And that's a good mantra. Whatever it is you're experiencing, you're ready for it. Don't think so much of what you want to be ready for, because you're ready for whatever is there. It's more like, how are you dealing with, aligning with, and processing what's already there? How are you seeing the synchronicities in what's happening around you right now? Because there's synchronicities in every moment. We create a reality with our perception, not our perception of the future, because there's no future, but with our perception of the now. What is showing up for you right now? What is showing up that's beneficial for you right now? We tend to write these things off because they're not big enough. We have a moment of feeling enthusiastic about something or feeling grateful for something, and then our mind's like, yes, but that's not enough. And every time we go, but that's not enough, we're saying we're not ready for the future that we want, because we're not even ready for the present. We're not even ready for what we have, but you are. It's all about how you see it. So who's in your life at the moment? What new thing has happened, if anything? And if nothing new has happened, how can you see something as new that happened? What little things are you feeling that are different? You can be in the same situation with the same people and feel different things. Well, that's a shift in your reality. That's a shift in what you're ready for. Give more credence to those tiny little intuitive hunches, those tiny little feelings, those tiny little noticings of a differentiation, and they will build. And do this instead of arguing that you're ready for more. I don't know who here argues with reality. I've spent most of my life arguing with God and the reality, including hours of just cussing everything out. I can't help it. It doesn't help much. Sometimes I need to do it because I just need to get my frustration out, because life is really difficult. But just know that when you're doing that, you're desynchronizing with everything that you want. There's an incredible peace that comes from noticing how life is happening for you instead of to you. Now, here's a really interesting tip that most people don't talk about. A lot of times the reason that we have trouble synchronizing with the reality that we want is because we've repeated patterns so many times in the past that involve lots of disappointment and letdown. I mean, I've gone through the same sort of pattern I had with music for a long time. That's starting to change now. I went through the same sort of pattern with partnerships over and over and over again. I know so many people who have this same issue. And what can happen is we just get anchored in the disappointment. We get anchored in the belief that, well, things didn't work and so they never will. And then we start to feel incapable. We start to feel like we're not good at manifesting. We start to feel too much doubt. We start to feel a lot of anger and hopelessness. Well, something that I want to point out here is, one, if we've manifested the almost many times, then the time where it actually works out is more than possible. It's inevitable on some line of reality, because reality occurs in cycles and patterns, and we repeat the same cycles and patterns until we complete them in a different way. So every time, even for me, even though it feels like things have looped with partnerships and the result kind of has, each time I've noticed myself grow, each time I've noticed differences, each time I've gotten further down the path, or it's been less frustrating. And I don't want to credit that because I didn't get the end all be all result that I wanted. There's kind of the brat that's just like, well, I didn't get what I wanted at all, so I got nothing. And that's not really true. But what I want to point out is, a lot of times our souls will script out situations that were never going to work. This is something that came up with a client recently. They weren't meant to work at the time. And when you really understand that the soul will script it out to teach itself lessons in what it feels like to have things not go the right way, in what it feels like to have things not go the right way, so you can heal the wounds inside. You can stop beating yourself up for screwing up or feeling like it was your fault or like there was something different you could have done. Because most of the time, when we don't align with what we really want, it's because we don't feel worthy of it or good enough, or we can't handle it because we're bad, or because of some past pattern or mistake that we believe we made. And when you understand that a lot of this stuff is created on a level that's far beyond the part of you that thinks it's the manifester, it's easy to just kind of turn it over and release it and let it go, letting it go. And that's what brings you into the present moment, where you become synchronized with the present moment. So know that all those things that didn't work out, they were not meant to, and they may very intentionally have been designed to fall apart. But just because things didn't work then doesn't mean they will never work. A lot of us develop that belief, well, it didn't happen here, so it never will. No, it wasn't time then. Things are changing. You are changing. And especially now, as the new timeline emerges more and more, a lot of those repetitive patterns that a lot of us got stuck in, with like endless disappointment and remorse and regret and things blowing up in our faces, there really is a whole new wave of energy that is wanting us to create new. So take solace in that. The last thing I want to talk about a little bit here is divine timing and action. Okay, a lot of people in the spiritual community, and I've been guilty of this, will use the law of attraction as a way to not take action, because they completely misinterpret what Neville Goddard talked about in terms of like, you don't need to take action for the thing. I don't really know what he meant, but he didn't mean what most people think he meant, which is sit on the couch and feel as if you have a house already built and someone will show up and build it for you. You don't have to build it. You don't have to pick up the phone. You don't have to talk to a contractor. You don't have to do anything, and it all just happens. That's complete bullshit. That's not how our reality works. You have to take action. It's about aligned action. It's about inspired action. It's about, you feel as if you already have it, and then you're like, oh, this is what I can do. And because you enjoy doing it to an extent, it doesn't feel like arduous slave labor, but you have to do stuff. Even thinking is an action. Relaxation is an action. Okay, so the question to ask yourself is it not happening yet because there are things that you need to be doing that you're not doing? 90% of the people, at least, who take that perception of like you don't need to take any action are not taking any action because they're afraid. So if there's something you want, ask yourself if there's something you could be doing that you're afraid to do. Because, you know, we're all afraid to receive the amount of love that we actually are, because it's part of the human experience. And see what you can do in a gentle way to start taking that action. But for others, you know, you may have been taking action after action after action, and things aren't lining up. In that case, it's more about letting go and finding why it is that you need whatever the thing is in order to feel better. And how can you feel better without it? How can you feel not even like you have it now, but the feeling that it would bring you of having it now? And knowing that it's actually possible to create that within yourself first. And that doesn't mean you won't reflect it back to you, because we are meant to manifest things in 3D here. But where are you pushing too hard? Where are you overusing your will? A lot of us overuse our will. We're like, no matter what happens, I am going to make this work. So that can be from a trauma of needing to control reality too much. But you don't want to beat yourself up for that, because there's a gift in that. You have an incredible will, incredible persistence, incredible strength, incredible fortitude. Those are all blessings and gifts, but they've been misallocated or overused in a particular way. So how can you take that will and take it kind of out of the your personal will account and like put it into the power of faith? You can take that energy and just feel incredible faith that everything will work out at some point, with that force that you have without willing, if that makes sense. Always look for how the imbalance is a gift that just needs to be tweaked or refined. And as you do this, you'll become more at peace with yourself, more at peace with the universe, more in alignment with divine timing. And as you let go of needing the thing, you either won't care anymore and you'll find something better, or it'll show up when it's time. There's a big relief in knowing things come when it's time. It's not your fault. So anyway, my name is Adam. Thank you so much for watching. I have a free energy clearing in the description below. Please let me know if you have any comments, questions, revelations, breakthroughs. Other than that, I look very forward to next time, and bye-bye.